Congratulations. Are you guys ready? Yeah. So we're gonna formally start. Along my Kamalino, some other board members at Purple My Up, and I'm proud to be the co-host today along with Pinanang Pardon. So we're gonna start the day, and one of the things I really want to make sure you guys know that this is not going to be a typical kind of sit down, listen to people talk kind of space. We want to get you, we feel that if we want to do Indigenous tech, we have to embrace Indigenous principles of getting up and being active. So, we're going to ask all you guys to stand up and we're going to form a big circle. So I told you, don't get too married to your seats. And we're going to open the day with Ehomai. If you know Ehomai, jump in. If you don't, you can learn by the third round.
Aloha e o ahu. Nui a lua. I ka malu o ulu kou ke kauhale o ka kuhi hewa. E ka maka kilo i ka piko o ka ala. A hea ke kilo a ka piko i ka uila i ka likai. Ua maali e kauai. He mai kai ka moku ka ili la na ka lima hana. O mo i keha la mai ka hiki a me mano ka manipo. O mai a ni I hau. Ka ula me la, me le hua inu mai nei ke kai. Au hea oa e ko lau hui pupu o hokahi. E pā hola nei ka...
Pa mahana kala me ka wanoe. Huana ka oli oli o ia home au e nohone. Mai e ki pa mai e iano.
I'm the Executive Director here at Key Project. I just want to welcome all of you here. Thank you so much for coming. Our mission is to nurture and promote the social, cultural, economic, environmental, and recreational well-being of Kualoa. So how fitting that you are here. Mahalo to Purple My Up. We appreciate you being here. I know there's a lot of deep thinkers and innovators, and I'm so excited to hear more of what you do. Aloha.
Okay, welcome everyone. We're almost done with the standing in the circle part. So my job is to tell you a little about why you're here, which is silly because I think you all know why you're here better than I do. And then again, right? The seeds come out, new tree, new blood, new bud, new blossom. And that idea of numerous, of many, of there being like a lot of things that come out of one foundation. So today I think what we're here for is to kind of set a foundation together. And to me, that's an experiential process. We have to be in a place on the land, hopefully, if the weather allows us, we have to be together. So that's what we're doing here today, and it takes everyone's participation. So on that note, shifting over to the logistical things, a few announcements. There are a bunch of things on the tables. There are note cards. So if you have a question throughout the day, for our panelists or for our keynote, for any speakers, what you can do is write that question on the card, and then you can basically hand them to anyone in a Purple Might Us shirt. I'm going to put that on the Purple Might Us shirt, and people hand them to one of our staff, and they're going to kind of move them upward to Donovan, I believe. The questions are coming to you. And then that'll be kind of our system for asking questions and kind of putting your thoughts out there. Also on the table is a half sheet with kind of a survey, one single survey question, as well as I think there's some questions on the bottom about like your demographic information or something. You can kind of sit on that survey for a little while. I mean, if you have a desire to answer it right now, this morning, go ahead. But if you want to just hold on to that survey for a second, kind of take in the day or part of the day and maybe fill it out at lunch.
For hundreds of years. And when you really unpack that, and you really start to think about, try being self-sufficient in Manoa, like eating an urban center, where you can only eat things from that valley. And you can only work with people in that valley to be able to cultivate a system of sustainability. You start to realize how badass Indigenous thinking is and how ultimately important it is to today's society. And I've shared this before, I'll share it again. The thing that as Native Hawaiians, we fought to reclaim our language, which is really important, but without our practice, we're just speaking Hawaiian and English. We were saying Hawaiian things with English, we're saying Hawaiian language with English thinking. The challenge to our generation is to think Hawaiian and speak English. And how do we properly talk about what our ancestors did in contemporary spaces of power? And that is what today is about. The two terms that our ancestors used, I believe, to survive in valleys is the word hana, which was work. It was your identity. Pre-contact times, the work of the ancestors made balance in your balanced ecology and made strong social structures. It didn't destroy them. And technologies didn't alienate people. Our ancestral technologies were really powerful. And then the idea of ohana wasn't 2.5 family member, 2.5 kids in a house in the suburbs where you barely know the neighbors 4 houses down. It was not only everybody in your generation.
I'd like you to step forward. Right? So step forward if you were born and raised here. Thank you. You can step back. Step forward if you were reborn here. Step forward if you came with an idea to share. Step forward if you're ready to evolve your idea. There you go. Step forward if you're looking for a team or open for others to join you in this journey. Step forward if you have to fly over the ocean to be with us today. Step forward if you are the first in your ohana to attend or graduate from college. Step forward if your ohana is from this moku. Thank you. Step forward if you are a student. Step forward if you are a parent. Ohana represent. Step forward if this is your first Purple Prize Challenge. Mahalo nui. So at this time, I'll try.
I'm browsing your phone all day. Dyad is about building Pina. So give you guys a good 3 minutes to find somebody you don't know and stand next to them. If you're uncomfortable, well, you're in the wrong place. Go. And when you find that person, raise your hand because this question I'm going to ask everybody. So I want to make sure we can get started and everybody has somebody. So we'll start when all hands are raised. If you're not raising your hand, we'll start when you feel uncomfortable waiting for you. Somebody raise your hand. We're taught to raise hands and not elbows. So either you're printing or you're not, you're going to be using hands. Alright. We good? Okay. So all of you have a phone, right? And your phone has a timer. You want to set the timer to 3 minutes. And in the 3 minutes, one person answered these 3 questions. And then it does 3 minutes for the next round. And the 3 questions is very clearly, this is from Auntie Punani Burgess. She teaches us this practice. It's called Building Beloved Community. The first question is, what is your full name? About 6 minutes. And everybody, it's supposed to be 3 minutes per person. So when you're done with 3 minutes, raise your hand. If you're not, keep talking, but you'll get off this time. Sounds good, yeah? Alright. Wrap it up. Alright. So how did that feel? Is it okay? Yeah. Part of what we wanted to do is to get you guys ready to talk to people you don't know. And that's how you build a Hana. Yeah, you don't just stay with your group, you don't just kind of suddenly hide behind your ideas.
Was it 3 minutes for each person or total?
3 minutes for each person. wrapping up the second person. And if you feel shredded on time, that's good. This is like a loose bush. Okay. Start wrapping up. So I think we drove home a point about what today is going to be like. We really want to acknowledge Auntie Puanani Burgess. If you haven't heard of her before, Google her. Use technology for good. Have Google get that data. And understand the practice. Like technology is not a contemporary word. Technology is an old word. And if you look at it, if you actually read in Webster Dictionary, there's nothing in technology definition that says electricity. And I was driving in today, and there's this podcast I was listening to about this guy talking about Bezos. He says that the brain runs on about much electricity.
Mahalo to all as you folks find your seat, find new friends to sit next to. And at this time, I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker for this morning is Senator Jared Keohukalole. He's a proud 7th-generation resident of the 48th House District, including Kaneohe, Helia, Ahuimanu, Pahalulu, Waikene, Paalaya, and Waiahole. Born and raised in Helia, Kaneohe, Ko'olamputo, He grew up under the tutelage of his grandmother, Emma Yohokalole, a pure Hawaiian elder, who was also born and raised here in Hagia and may have been the last living Manaleo of this place. As a child, he reveled in his intimacy with Keahu Ola'a, one of the only black sand beaches here on the island, where he grew up fishing with his uncles. His family lineage does take him to the family of Kiukalakaua, where he continues to honor that legacy as chair of the Senate Committee on Technology, and was formerly the vice chair of the House Committee on Economic Development and Business. So with that, we ask you to please warm welcome for Senator Jared Keo'olakaua.
Shirts around this room that are responsible for bringing all of you folks here, hosting you, making this thing happen. So thank you for that. When I was asked to come and speak, they said I was going to give the keynote. I was super nervous. I've never done a keynote before. So if I start to ramble, just start to like nod off so that I know there's a cue. I gotta switch up and transition to the next part of the talk. So I was basically just asked to come and explain why I think Indigenous innovation is important, why I think innovation is important, why I think it's critical that we have initiatives like the Purple Prize, and why it's so important and critical that you folks are all here today. I think you guys know it, but I just want to reiterate that, and hopefully pump you guys up and get this thing started on the right note. So, as she just said before, let me start with a question. How many of you folks knew there was a black sand beach on the island of Oahu? Yeah, so I can tell you there is because I grew up there. If you go through Kaneohe, in the middle of Kaneohe, you have the police station and the fire station. How many of you guys know where that is? The police station is on Waikalua Road. That's the site of the first missionary. And they used to have tires, old tires, out on the beach right below the surface. And so at low tide, you could walk out and you take a little net, you lift up the tire and you shake it, and opai would fall out, little baby shrimp. And that's pretty much all you needed to do at low tide to catch shrimp in Kaneohe at Nahoneala. And so we would dry it out and put it in saimin or use it as bait. We'd go crabbing. At night we would go torching. My family, they only buy flat bottom boats because in Kaneohe Bay, you have all this shallow coral all over the place. And if you use a regular, I don't even know what it's called, a non-flat bottom boat, because we don't have non-flat bottom boats in my family. You can get your engine caught on a reef pop-up real easy if you go out at night. So we go out on the flat bottom boat with a glow stick and we would just torch, throw in. We had oysters. My grandmother, my uncles, they all raised us down there. And so that was just my life. I didn't realize how special that was to be connected to that place. If you go there now, on the other hand, I'm interested in Indigenous innovation because for Indigenous communities, there's no exit strategy. Ponoshin told me the story about the exit strategy and how he had to tell some capitalist-minded individuals who came to Hawaii looking for tax credits to set their business up that they weren't needed in Hawaii. We don't need people to come here to take. We need people to come here to give because we're not leaving this place. Indigenous people aren't leaving their communities. There is no exit strategy. It's not about how much money you can make and then go away. That's why we should be a part of the process. Indigenous people shouldn't just be at the table. They should be leading the process because they have a special perspective. They have a legacy to these areas. And they have a history of being able to make it in these places before modern technology or modern society made it here. So I made a joke at an event last year about the fact that Native Hawaiians had to be innovative because this place is in the middle of nowhere and they got here without a compass or a GPS or an engine motor. They figured it out. I really think at the end of that we have the world right at our fingertips. And my kids already know how to get around my password to get to it. It's amazing. But it also leads to a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear and a lot of change that, truthfully, we're probably not ready for, right? So I read a book last year by a guy named Thomas Friedman called Thank You for Being Late. And he talks about three main factors that are contributing to the change in the world and how, because they're happening all at the same time, the change in the world is accelerating rapidly, and it's causing all of these problems, and it's causing a lot of fear and uncertainty that has had a lot of different ramifications, not only in our country and our state, but around the world. So the three things are, according to him, and I agree, are globalization, technology, and climate change. And a lot of people, like when I talk to my parents and my uncles, and they understand globalization, but they don't really understand it in terms of how it's really impacting our world. And so I tried to explain it like this. When I was a kid, my mom, and then they sold the thing to me at Ala Moana at the Apple store, right? My wife uses, she introduced me to this website called Fiverr. How many of you have heard of Fiverr? It's 5 with 2 R's, because they're cute. They wanted to spell it different. So she got some stickers done. It's like Craigslist, okay, but for graphic design. So she wanted to get some stickers done. There's like a tutorial you go through, and then you put out a listing, and then people bid on it. And so like in 4 hours, she got the sticker design made, and then she just went to the print shop and had it done. And it was like $5, and it was designed by a guy in Pakistan, right? And so my first thought was, that is amazing. It only took like, it was really fast, it was really cheap. I was like, that is amazing. That's so convenient. And then my next thought was I kind of had a shudder. I thought, oh, what about all the local graphic design guys who don't have sticker work anymore? Because they have to compete with people because of things like those touchscreens. It's crazy, isn't it? If you think about it. What are all those folks going to do? Right? What are our cashiers going to do? Nowadays, I don't know about this one, but I went to the Moanalua McDonald's. That's right, I went to McDonald's, everyone. There was just one cashier, and it was the one taking the cash from the baby boomers who are stubborn and still want to use cash, right? There were 3 touchscreens. Everybody ordered from that, and all the workers were just assembling food and handing it out, right? So there's risk and reward to technology. What are you going to do about the cashiers and the truck drivers once autonomous vehicles become a thing? Because we all know that's coming. What are those folks going to do? It doesn't mean necessarily that we're eliminating jobs. It means we have to be more adaptive to the needs of the world. Because while we're losing cashiers, somebody's got to maintain those touchscreens, right? And I have no idea how to do that. Somebody's got to figure out how to reset the thing and do regular maintenance and fix it if it gets broken. And who would rather have that job over the cashier job? How many of you would figure something out? So, the fact that so anyway, what Thomas Friedman says is the fact that those 3 things are hitting us right now at the same time, it's creating so much disruptive change that it's scaring people. That's why we have some of this crazy stuff going on in DC and around the world, because people are afraid because the world is changing faster than they're comfortable with. Everyone's used to change, it's inevitable, but it's happening so fast, we don't know how to deal with it, okay? And so the reason why I'm here, and I hope the reason why you folks are here, and the reason why I want to encourage all of you guys to do your best and win this thing, so that we have tons of awesome ideas to help solve these problems, is because our communities need to be a part of this. We should be leading this. Like I said, no one is coming to save us. We gotta do it ourselves. And we can do it because we've done it before. That's why we're here. Not only Native Hawaiians, the folks who came over to work in the sugarcane plantations were amazingly courageous people who worked their butts off for their families. And that's why we have the standard of living in the world and the Hawaii that we have today, which I tell you, even though we got plenty of problems, I still believe that we live in the best place in the world. In the most amazing ability as well. The fact that you guys are here means that you're here to do good, right? And I want everyone to remember that and to embrace that, because at the end of the day, it's about helping people, helping communities, and taking the initiative. Because like I said before, you know, if I don't work to preserve Naonela for my kids, then who will? And if you folks don't do this work, then who will? And I think we can all agree that it's really
terms, because they do have power, without being thoughtful about deconstructing them. Because if we don't, what can happen is things get co-opted. We work in a very dynamic world, and then we have to understand how we embrace ideas if we're rooted in place, and we're rooted in our ancestry, and from communities like, I really appreciate you sharing, have no exit strategy, that we're gonna have to hold around here. We have to understand these terms on our terms. So, to that end, the panels that we're going to have will help us with a bit of deconstruction, so that we can do the eventual reconstruction. My dad always told me, before I let you drive the car, you gotta take the car apart. Because driving the car isn't knowing the car. You don't have to pick my ass up someplace. Before we can do Indigenous innovation, we have to deconstruct it so that we can reconstruct it into something meaningful and something ours. Yeah. So we're going to have a panel. We're going to invite up for the next group some people that we really feel. Kiana Frank. Hello. Yeah, she's so good. She gets mentioned twice. It's like white. I'm just white. We have Olin Lagan, one of the co-founders of Purple, but also one of the really first Indigenous tech entrepreneurs in Hawaii. As we say in Waianae, where I'm from, the technical term for Olin, he's on hammer. Whoa, really action. But he's actually been doing a lot of things in Hawaii. As you know, for me, he was a thought leader that originally inspired me to really start thinking more about how do we merge Indigenous practices and thinking as the basis of creating new technologies. And finally, that will be moderated by our fearless leader at Purple Male, Donovan Kilo. And what I will say to kind of turn it over to them, how many of you are nerds? I was a closet nerd in Waianae. You couldn't be one nerd. I would just be a nerd. I recently came out. And one of the things that I read as a nerd was that all science fiction is political. You can't talk about a
to us with the great big ideas. Right? And it started in my head this thing about, well, you know, we got to come up with this theme, this thing. You know, we've been pointing around with this idea of Indigenous innovation. It could mean a lot of different things. I think we take for granted those two words together. Those two words, when we put it together, it becomes this sort of this thing, right? So I think in a room full of people that are doers and makers, like myself, right? We often kind of just jump into things and start cranking on stuff, but it's also important to stop and think, right? To make sure all the mana'o and the thought that we go into making stuff is solid and grounded before you actually start doing stuff. And so that's the idea with this panel. I was on a panel yesterday, and it was very formal, nice chairs, blah, 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 sit down, sit up straight, Kiana, Annie, and that's not the way I do things. I kind of more laid back, talk, story, action, right? So we're gonna do it that way. We had a scheduled planned session where we were gonna brainstorm some questions and whatnot, but that kind of went by the wayside. So we're gonna do local style. Yeah, we're gonna talk story, we're gonna ask some questions. I'm gonna just sort of dig in a little bit because, as I said, I'm trying to make sense of this thing too. And as we go through it, I want you guys to start sort of making sense of it too. Again, the term of makava.
I own an Indigenous tech company back home in New Zealand, and we make we develop cultural storytelling apps and other stuff.
Kia ora mai tātou. My name is Ian Mustin. I hail from a wonderful place on the east coast of Aotearoa called Whangarā. People who have seen the Whale Rider, they've seen my homeland, Whangarā. This fella's a legend. He won't say it for himself because our cultures are so similar in terms of, you know, we've got amazing things to share, but we never stick our necks out because, you know, that's not who we are. So it's my job to shout his reps. Love the opportunity to be here. Something kind of interesting about me. It's my first time to Hawaii. I love it. I love the fact that and I'm torn in two ways. I want to live here, but I've got responsibility back home. And it says I want to be here, but by doing so, by tuning, I'm going out to something else back home. So it's kind of that torn. We'll talk more.
Hello, I'm Kiana Frank. I'm from Kailua, raised on the mud.
Innovation is really, I think, the
closer. Oh, there we go. Thanks, that's innovation right there. Innovation is really the combining of two really crazy different things, right? So that's my definition. So you can combine something like, you know, what they do in biology with Russian language or something like that.
So I think innovation is something that's, like Olin said, is you're intertwining all these different things for the benefit of the societal well-being. And when you add the layer of innovation, indigenous innovation, we're not just talking about something that's brand new. We're talking about bringing something ancient, transforming it and restoring it into the 21st century that both moves forward our society, but also is grounded in our cultural values and beliefs.
I guess what I vibe off that is similar to how Samantha talked about term technology. Innovation is not new, it's something we've always done. There's a reason our people...
That's what I think innovation means.
So sounds really sort of broad. I mean, if I were to look up the term innovation in the dictionary, I probably would come up with something different. It sounds like everybody's sort of taking this broad sort of definition, defining the term innovation. So that said, it's still, I mean, I sort of default to almost like, you know, the new stuff, right? And so let's say...
Something when AlohaNet was started. Yes. A lot of people don't realize what AlohaNet became the protocol for 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, Ethernet, satellite communications. In fact, the protocol for AlohaNet it says the word aloha. You have to check the handshake. So in other words, aloha is the most spoken word in all of human history. Interesting, yeah? So all your cell phones, all your SMS communications is built on that technology. Again, indigenous innovation required those University of Hawaii wanted to connect wirelessly with the other campuses. How about a couple of brothers on Kauai? They were calling the banks when they were, so actually there was a Hawaii-based company that for years had the largest number of computers in the world. Anybody want to guess what that company was? Hawaii-based company. It was the world's largest computer company for years until they got bought and no longer operating. So two guys on Kauai were calling the phones when they had credit card bills come in. And they said, hey, we should just make a machine and you can just slide and then, I don't know if we're talking
to the land in which you stand, to the people that care for that land, and to the ancestors that came before you, of whose shoulders that you're standing on. And I think that intentionality is really what moves something from being just innovative to being indigenously innovative, because it's that mindset, it's that core value of being reflecting your relationships and thinking about the prosperity and the future because of everyone you're standing on the shoulders of your ancestors who came before you.
I think as Indigenous people, it's a lot easier for us to relate to a lot of concepts that we have in terms of what business will, and it's something that I take into a business concept, into a business context as well within the tech company that I own and run. So maybe kind of gone off the question there, but I really do feel that my culture, my Indigenous roots, my cultural context and cultural narrative informs me to this very day.
You said we talk about. So you said something there, values, right? You talk about your working values, and it's like it's.
You become part of our family, part of our Hawaiian. It's great. Yes, I sometimes use words from back home that I realize after I've said them, they don't necessarily make sense here, and sometimes for me to explain them, I don't know how to. We build on and we pride ourselves, like our cousins here do, on the concept of manakitanga, the ability to give and to look after each other, to host each other. And those are the things that we hold most dear, because we are who we are, and these are parts of us that aren't unique to our cultures, but the things that we stand that we're talking because we're building, strengthening relationships with each other.
I'd like to build on that in order to create these structures that allow you to work with the aina, not against it. Work easy, not hard, right? You have to understand that you can observe that. And so the first layer of this story in thinking about Indigenous innovation is our people understood the fact that you had to care for these spaces. You had to protect the biologies. I'm a microbial oceanographer. I look at tiny things, right? We can actually see now that every time Meheanu comes to the pond, she pees in the pond, creates a spike in ammonium, which...
This question, right? One, how do we take one issue we often face as Indigenous innovators is how do we take our culture out of its box and interweave it with things such as tech in a way that is...
The Tokyo proverb that says, He aha te mea nui o te ao. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What that means is, what is the most important thing in this whānau? It doesn't really matter. So, I look into those relationships, I look to people that I trust, I look to people that I work with to help guide me, to help inform me about, hey, how quickly are we going to do this? How quickly are we going to...
It's rooted in people and connections. And so we're expanding in Hawaii, and we actually have a pilot in Aotearoa starting this month. So we're pretty excited about that. But I think that is an example of, checking yourself by looking at, if we build a better battery, let's take that one step further. So I'm in a
really good space. That's a good answer for this next question that somebody asked me to ask you is on this notion of success and standards, right? You said something interesting about.
And there's specialist officers there, the probation office, and the WINS office, which is like the government substance ahead of me, who goes through those troubles that I do, who knows that as a startup, bro, stuff sucks sometimes. You eat the noodles. That's all you eat. We've had our own economies. We talk about what we've been able to do, like, hundreds if not thousands of years ago when we thrived, and our people work within themselves, they support each other, we build communal wealth. We do this all the time. It's just
because my teachers told me to, and I failed. I failed 2 years in a row, completely failed every paper that I took. People as possible, not just Māori, not just Indigenous people, but all communities and all people, because I truly think that through sharing our narrative, and we might be on a better path in terms of education.
So I have over learning structures within westernized, formalized education systems don't necessarily match our Indigenous worldviews in the way that we engage, because you don't always have students that see the connections, right? You talk to so many kids that are surfers and excellent practitioners of their spaces, but also be able to translate that to the global world. I mean, Kamu said it perfectly. They need to be able to think Hawaiian, but speak English, because we are living in a global world. We're not isolated on an island.
I'll have 30 seconds. That's it. I'm inspired through frustration. So I failed senior year at high school. The only paper I passed was history. And it's because it was about New Zealand wars and I was pissed off, basically. So I wanted to learn more about that stuff. And the reason I got to learn about that is because, I got to be in the place learning about it. So it's that whole tactile approach. So from an educational perspective, what we try to do and what I think
those of us who do have like those kind of degrees or whatever it is, power, spheres of influence, be able to make way for those folks who really have the knowledge and the skills. Because it's my aunties and it's people who, we just are not going to be bothered to prove themselves. And for 200 years feeling like you're not enough. How do that right?
Thanks, Bo, for the question. Unlike these guys, my alcohol blood content level was higher than my GPA, so good. My PhD stands for part Hawaiian dude.
I mean, it's an ongoing conversation, right? It's things that we got to think about. You got to think about. It's an ongoing conversation, and the next panel will be sort of putting it all back together and expressing it, or how do we sort of take these things into sort of a modern context, or envision sort of a new economy or a new way of doing things. So, mahalo. I want to give mahalo.
part of your interpretive scientific hui. If you could add some gangster rap in the background, I think I could totally level up with that. So as we get ready for our next panel, as Pacific Island communities, we still live within the area and the land where Ohana is from. We have this amazing opportunity to really dive in and access this deep knowledge of profound relationship with our land and our community and spirit. And I think many of the leadership qualities and tenets that we consider innovative and transformative are very much rooted within our Indigenous community. So collaborative models like co-creation, appreciative inquiry, or mindfulness, these are tools of social innovation and transformation that are inherent to our Indigenous.
What software you got there?
It's called
Swing? Sling? Oh, so the full suite.
That's what you can put text and compare to on the side. So we have like the sides, and one with the iPhone and the front.
So this is the router?
I think so, yeah.
That's what you do? You do media stuff? Oh, okay. Just helping out. Oh, that's what I like about our.
Can we call up Peony and Bert to join
Yeah, which is okay, but we'll get to the stage maybe in a year or so. So let's play out the year with Purple Prize first. I want users.
Before this panel starts, we're going to have a quick announcement from Alex that we're really excited about. So if you can kind of wrap it up and get settled again. Sorry, also a downer. Okay.
Hey guys, so really quickly, I just wanted to give a quick announcement. A couple of days ago, we had our friends Nakeem, Durrani, and Mark Stroke email us from the Schmidt Marine Technology Partners.
Sorry, we always do that. We're like bite marks, but then forget about the a million other things that you do. Okay, so this panel, the first panel that we just sat through, right, was about Indigenous innovation. What is that? Kind of deep dive into breaking that down. But the second panel is acknowledging that innovation always takes place in a context, and that context includes political, economic, social, and historical factors. So what do I mean by all those words? I like to borrow Douglas Rushkoff's phrase, because I think it's something that tech people, it like fits in our minds really well, to say that there is an operating system. That an easy example is to think about social media. I mean, originally something like Facebook was free. It was a fun way of connecting with other college students. Nothing too scary about that. But the business model that Facebook has, grown to embrace is kind of one that extracts our personal data and uses that to make money. And there's kind of these changes that we've seen, right, that are affecting technology as far as what's coming out of Silicon Valley. At the same time, we're all tied into the current operating system, right? And I think in Hawaii, we talk about it in terms of the economy. We're all trying to figure out how to, in some ways, support the local economy because that's what we're all dependent on, right? And I think in this context that make us less dependent on the extractive operating system. So can we be innovators in this way too, not just building tech, but growing a tech sector that also shifts the way that business is done so that we're a model of what a fair, sustainable, local technology sector that supports community thriving might actually look like. So this is kind of like the overall big question for these panelists that I have. is as we build a local tech sector that claims to be
always been sort of Western. I came today and, you know, sometimes people call me uncle and I tell them, hey, don't call me uncle, just call me my name. But today, I got Olin honorably calling me Kupuna. Because he said, you know, the Kupuna parking is over here. I said, oh, okay, oh, it's the first time somebody called me Kupuna. But what I wanted to say is that, you know, growing up, I've gone through, let's say, you know, as my grade school and middle school, must have answered those questions with feet somewhat planted in the ground, but eyes, you know, gazing at the stars. Okay? But my interest in plants have taken me all over the place. And one of the things that it did was it actually took me to native ecosystems where I got a strong sense of the sort of the interrelation of a really natural, untouched ecosystem. And that led me to a place called Kaho'olawe. And on Kaho'olawe, I had experienced really a sense of healing, and the healing of a person, the healing of the place, the land, and the healing of the community. And one of the things I learned at Kaho'olawe was I did a column in the Honolulu Advertiser back in between 98 and 2004. It was called White Marks, and it was about the tech sector and the internet. And then I started with Hawaii Public Radio, doing radio, covering the tech scene, and we've been doing that since 2004. So it's been actually 2008. So it's gone now on our 11th year. And it's been an awesome ride, just sort of being a part of the tech sector, but also trying to figure out where's the intersection between technology and culture. How does Hawaii benefit from the things that we find valuable? So what was the question again?
So I guess I'm thinking too about, like, when we talked before, you kind of...
So I really kind of started to think about, you know, what do I do with this sort of innovation background, and how do I bring people together and start making a difference? And really, one of the guys that really helped was one of the signposts was Forrest Frizzell. And so this would happen when he and Gordon Bruce wanted to do some digital things at the city and county. And this is when they started to think of things like City Camp and Code for America. And you know, I had both of them on the radio, and this idea of a city camp. I told Forrest, hey, so who's gonna do your city camp? He says, oh, I don't know, we don't have anybody. I said, hey, you know, I've been doing this like a real job. And I thought, hey, why not? But first, before I said why not, I asked, well, what kind of job are you talking about? He said, oh, would you like to be our strategy officer for broadband? I said, yeah, okay, can do that. My history with the tech sector was started with Hawaiian Tel. I spent lots of years at Hawaiian Tel. I had the opportunity to see the whole advent of the personal computer, networking, the internet. I also spent some time over at the Maui Supercomputer, and then actually came back over here and started a data center company. So anyway, I had some good history with technology. So, you know, we're hearing about broadband, we're hearing about the project I'm working on, which is to kind of build a carrier-neutral cable landing. It's trying to attract the submarine cables into Hawaii. We also hear about things like 5G and the coming of the sort of new network platform that's going to enable all these high bandwidth, low latency applications. So the thing that I'm trying to figure out is, how do I get Hawaii kids and others in the tech sector to start looking at developing applications in that ecosystem, so that we are not just, you know, a passive observer of what happens with all this stuff coming in. Because I can tell you, data is coming in, there's applications that are going to come in, there's all kinds of stuff that's going to be enabled. How do we become a participant?
Community and what they're working on. The Kauhale model. Yeah. we're going to change and we'll come back to queuing. Yeah.
So you have this kind of capitalist society. I call them capitalists, I call them Americanized, I call them Westernized, even though they're all the way to the east. I think it's kind of weird. But you know, like, we all kind of have this imposed economics on us, and it's kind of just how the way the thing works. You know, you can be an individual, you stay in your own house, you can make your own money, and you can succeed independently. You know, and that's kind of the American dream, right? You can be anybody that wants to start anywhere, and you know, you can build yourself, you know, through your just pushed by the wayside all the people that cannot exist in this system. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're lazy or you know, whatever all these negative connotations people like to put on people that haven't made it in the system that we have. You know, it just means that the system that is in place, they don't mesh well. So, you know, we kind of went about trying to figure out ways to help those people, you know, because for me, that's not okay. So, you know, we kind of started about 3 years ago on street light. Started trying to figure out what can we do to, you know, kind of catch all these other people. Figure out one system where people will be okay and be able to thrive with the money they have. You know, so it's like we kind of went at it from the other end and said, how can we lower the cost of living enough so that the money that people have is enough, you know? So, you know, kind of took on, you know, culturally Hawaiians to live in this kahale system, right? You know, you had your halikuke, everybody go over there and cook, right? You had your sleeping houses, you had, you know, your halapa'a. To do that, and that's what you want to do, then fine. There's 1,000 places outside there, 1,000 programs, you know, that can do that. But you know, we're trying to catch the ones that not really doing it. And you know, if you look at the village, the way it operates now, it's kind of like lived experience. That's what they're doing now. You know, except I mean, take it. The bathroom is outside in the, you know, in the park, you know, and the communal kitchen is kind of Twinkle's kitchen. But you know, we basically took the kitchen, took a lot of work in, and you know, expanded it. Put a gathering area where people get together, expanded it, and then took the bathroom from the park and put them in the middle of the village. And that's pretty much, you know, what we came up with. I don't know if anybody's seen all the slides and stuff that we, you know, kind of go around. Find out, you know, after giving up a little bit of what he wanted, a little bit of what he wanted, we come up to this solution. But it don't have to be, you know, you just gotta, if you continue to look for this option where you get what this one wanted and what this one wanted, but something more on top of that, right? So like an example of, you know, something that I think, well, I don't want money to do, but you know, one example would be like, you know, you get how many, that's what state you make it tonight. You know what I mean? You can centralize stuff. You know, put your kind of school inside. You know, you teach everybody that live there, and people when live there, teach everybody that live there. Oh, no, no, wait. You know, so now when the tourists come, they hear the language. They eat the food. They see, because this is why people, and they already want to do it. They want to live like that, right? They just don't have the resources to do it. So they see.
Sharing that vision with us, I know it's kind of a lot to put you on the spot there, but I mean, yeah, you know, it's that win-win and being in control of the resources. I think those are interesting principles to draw out from what you're saying. I gotta move us along. I'm being a bad moderator. We're gonna run out of time. Everybody's hungry. Keone, I wanted to ask you. I mean, Keone is working in Hawaiian-led innovation and social entrepreneurship. Basically, I would summarize that that's kind of the area that you're really involved in and taking a lead in. And my question to you, that again, you can go kind of wherever you want. But
right? And we see the impacts of that, and especially as people who live on islands, especially as people who are indigenous, who are connected to our land, and who value relationships. Like, it hurts us more, right? Like it doesn't feel good. It rubs and it has tension against who we fundamentally are in our existence. And I think we have to call that out. We have to acknowledge and say what the problems are of the dominant system and say, that's not what we want. Those are not the outcomes that we want. And this is what we want. Now, the this, I don't know what that is yet. I think that's what we're working collectively towards. So, you know, obviously, you know, I started a couple of social enterprises. The latest one consists of while also subverting it. And so how we do that, I think, is what we're learning right now, and that we're all kind of learning this process together. But we have to be able to at least ground ourselves in the intentionality, right? Ground ourselves in what is the purpose, what are we doing, what is this all for, what does it mean? Like the conversation that happened earlier on the panel before, like, yes, all of that. If that conversation was like resonating with you and you're like, yes, this, I get it, yeah. Like that is what we need, that's the intentionality that all the work that we're going to collectively do going forward has to be grounded in. And once we're in agreement on that, and we have a community, because you know, the beautiful thing, like this guy's like one of my heroes, right? Like he volunteers like all his time to go and help this community and wants absolutely nothing for it. Like these are the kinds of people that we need to uplift in our society. Not the guys who have the degrees, not the guys who have the huge bank accounts, not any of that. It's this, right here. And these are the kind of people that inspire me. And what I think is coming to light through the work that they are doing, that I've been witnessing, I've had the privilege and honor of kind of being a part of.
To remember, and I guess, you know, and I think we have to develop ways to, you know, that intentionality. How do we bring ourselves back to it continually, right? I think you talked to me before about the reflection, like the theory and the practice, and you go back and forth between those, and it doesn't end necessarily, right? Okay, I've been a bad moderator, we're running out of time, but I mean, I'm hearing from all of you, like, engagement at the state level, engagement at the community relationship level, and also, like, the structures that allow us to do that, like the Kauhale model, the things that facilitate, you know, and working in that win-win way to set that up, to like carve out that space to have that happen. I think those are important ways that we can shift the operating system. Does anybody have closing thoughts on the panel? I know that I dominated this too harshly, maybe. If not, then I think I'm going to close. I wish that I had like half an hour more for each of you to speak, but I don't think we could all handle that. So I'm going to end the panel here.
Are very serious about why we're trying to promote these spaces. And this is hopefully that what we are doing here will set the tone for as we move forward. Right? But I really want to transition to lunch. We have, I know you guys can smell it, so there's lunch being cooked. But when I was going to school in YNI Intermediate, way back in the day, we had this thing called a lunch token. If you was with Bruce, lunch was yellow. If you're this way, it was a little bit of shame and shit. So you have to show the lunch token before you get lunch. So you guys' lunch token is, we all gonna stand here, we're gonna take a group picture. We're gonna have about 45 minutes, half an hour or so to eat, because the second half of the day is gonna be about hunger. Purple Pride is always about talking first, but think about Indigenous people, if you just talk all the time, they ignore you and they let you starve. Then you gotta go and work. And that's when the theory and thought is put into something tangible that then creates abundance. So we're gonna have people clear out, we're gonna do a little bit of process at about 12:30, 12:45. And then we're going to have people move down to Paipai over here, where we're actually going to be doing work on the land in what Kiana did so wonderfully in lifting up these types of ancestral science. So everybody come up here. The faster you come here to take the picture, the faster you will be able to do it. So everybody,